Agents commission. Okay, there are two different ways you can allocate this agents commission, and usually it happens that these agents commission actually come out right at the end. However, we've seen project marketers like to get 50% commission upfront as soon as they give you an unconditional contract. And to be able to allow for that, that means that you'll have to come up with that amount upfront even before your settlement takes place. That means you, whatever that commission 50% is, you'll have to allow for that, and you'll have to allow for that at the time of signing, for example. So we've got these options here. So agents commission, what this is actually a repeat of each of the units that we've got there. Now, because this is in a spreadsheet environment, I had no other option but to actually be able to repeat them. And that's why I've got all these expand and collapse things so that you can minimize them if you don't want to use them. So in this scenario, we've got agents commission, and what we do is we select the stage. We're going to pay them that commission. And in this scenario, I've selected marketing, for example, and I've given a 2% commission, including GST. So if you're international, it says, well, whoops, I've left IGST, but it actually doesn't make any difference. I'll delete that so that your add-on doesn't show that. But in the international version as well, whatever your commission percentage is, if you put 2% over there, it automatically gets populated into all of these cells. If I change that to 1.5%, all of these would change to that. But if you wanted to come and say, okay, for unit number 7, I'll have to pay them 2.5%, you can actually put in 2.5%. So you can override them. As long as it's blue, that means it can be overridden. So just for convenience, I've actually put in 1.5 or 2% or whatever you want to put that, and link the cells back so that when you first start, it's just easier to actually quickly change them, and then just go and update the ones that you wanna change in this scenario. So if I've got agents commission residential units at signing, so if I've got something over here that I can that I've got to allocate, I'll have to come in this section and commission at signing section, and I'll have to put in that I'll have to pay this agent 50% at the time of signing. Now, if I put 50% over there, it'll calculate 50% of their commission that I will owe them at the time of signing. And how do I actually select my signing? I can actually either select that as a marketing stage, or I can just go and select the start to finish stage and then allocate that cost based on the start and the span time where I think it's going to occur. So if I put these details over there and they get allocated, these costs will get allocated based on what I have actually decided over here. The same thing happens for residential. So this is at settlement. So these are the units that are being settled on settlement. So if I change that to, let's say, 30%, and you can negotiate that with your agents that whatever your total commission is, I'm going to be paying you 30% at the time of signing, and you can put in the details of when you think that signing would occur, what month you think, and you can change all of that to the same stage, and change that to start to finish as well. And you can then come in and say it happens in the 5th month, and I've got 1 over there. The reason I had marketing over here as my stage, because it tells me this is the time I can actually start my marketing. Because if you go back into your dashboard, before marketing, you've got your building permit and your town planning happening. So when you start your marketing and you've got that stage where you're actually doing marketing your project, that's the time you're most likely to do it, and that's why by default it comes in at marketing. But because it's blue, you can override it and you can change it to for it to suit you. Now this is giving me an error over here. Why? It's giving me a time error, and what that means is that this is outside my timeline. So even if I put that over here as 14, that error won't go away. It has to be 15 because the marketing doesn't start before 15th of month. So again, these errors have no impact on the calculations. They have no impact. They're just there as a guide to help you out with allocating your costs. So if you put in 30% over there, automatically the remaining 70% gets calculated, and we've got the second stage automatically selected as the settlement stage, and you can come in and change which month that you wanted to. Now this is automatically picked up from what you allocated over here, so there is minimum amount of redoing the data or re-inputting the data, so that those details of when you're actually settling on them, once you allocate them, they get picked up. I had to repeat these columns to be able to capture this commission, but I've tried to keep it with minimum rekeying the data so that you don't have to spend all this time. Just concentrate on the blues, and that's all you got to worry about. So if you can get your blue cells right with blue text in them, your feasibility and your application will come out correct. Now this is the same thing happening with the commercial units. I can allocate that I'm going to put 35% at the time of signing. Automatically marketing is selected over here, and then you can go on and allocate them. Automatically the remaining stuff has the same details over here as well. So as long as you've got those, you should be fine. And that's how your agent's commission is allocated. And you still have to allocate them based on straight line, S-curve or whatever. I don't put them in S-curve because these are flat costs. They don't escalate going up, so it's actually better to put them in straight line. So these are your agent's commissions.